From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, consider this with Cathy Wyatt, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
The goal is to reduce the number of inmates who reoffend. In Sarpy County, 1 in 5 inmates have a serious mental illness. According to Sarpy County Corrections, those inmates are 36% more likely to reoffend.
Hi everyone, I'm Cathy Wyatt. Welcome to the 28th season in this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, a forensic psychiatry fellowship. Joining us to talk more about it are Dr. Kimberly Clawson, the program's inaugural director. She is with UNMC's Department of Psychiatry, and Don Kelly, a Sarpy County Commissioner in the 1st District. He is also vice chair for the board. Thank you both so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, Dr. Clawson, I have to start with you. Just what is forensic psychiatry?
So forensic psychiatry is a subspecialty of psychiatry where we practice at the intersection of mental health and the law. So we work with people who have mental illness who are also in the legal system in some way.
Okay. What does a forensic psychiatrist do?
So we see patients who are in some way involved in the legal system. We do forensic evaluations for the courts, and we also do treatment in facilities like jails and prisons for people who have mental illness.
Okay, and I did want to ask you to delve a little bit deeper perhaps into those settings. So you mentioned a few of them. What are the others?
Mm-hmm. So the big places that forensic psychiatrists work are, we work in universities and academics, we work in jails taking care of the inmates there, we work in prisons doing the same thing, we work at state hospitals with people who are getting competency evaluations and competency restoration treatment, and we work in really anywhere in the criminal or civil legal system where people with mental illness need evaluations or need treatment.
Okay, so Dawn, the correctional facility, Sarpy County, would qualify based on what she's just shared, correct?
Absolutely. It's a fantastic facility for a program like this. And by the way, Cathy, thanks for inviting me. We're really proud of that program that we're initiating, and I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to talk about it today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much. We're going to put up a photo for our viewers. It's actually the campus here, so let's go ahead and do that. And as we are, talk about where this is located, Don, and when it opened.
Well, as you can see from the photo, that building to the right side of the screen is our old jail. It's now been demolished. And our new facility is just to the south of it on the Sarpy County Courthouse campus at 84th and 370.
Okay, loaded question, but why the need for the new facility?
Well, we had outgrown our old facility, quite frankly. I mean, it was built over 3 decades ago, and it was built during a time where jails and correctional facilities were built for different purposes, mostly incarceration. So there was no programming space. There was really inadequate opportunities to put programs that would help the inmates in a positive way. So after several years of just being really having people sleeping on cots in the gym because we were so crowded, we knew it was time to build a new facility, and so we did, right on the same campus, just to the north, or to the south of our existing one.
Okay, well, we found a video, and as we're putting that up for our viewers, if you could just be so kind as to take us on a tour, that
Sure.
would be fantastic.
You bet. So this facility was built 2 years ago and opened for the first time during the later phases of COVID. We had planned to have public tours, but unfortunately because of COVID, we couldn't do that. It's a fabulous facility, absolutely fabulous. In its current state, it can house up to 350 inmates, and we have the ability to grow in the future, so that was all part of the plan to take it up to almost 500 inmates if needed. But probably more important than that is it has the programming space that we need to help with rehabilitation and mental health. And one of the things we're going to talk about in great detail today is one of the facilities is a dedicated behavioral health center where Dr. Clawson and her residents can come in and provide direct assistance and aid to our inmates who are suffering from mental illness. I would just say one of the things that kind of surprised me as a commissioner is that mental health and mental illness is everywhere in our community. And, you know, we're the home of Offutt Air Force Base, so obviously we see a lot of PTSD from our airmen that are stationed there. But mental illness it's everywhere. It's in our grade schools, it's in our high schools, it's in our communities, it's everywhere. And I was just astounded by the number of people that are grappling with mental health issues. And so we look at this facility as a great asset, someplace where when people come in, you know, we like to think everybody makes mistakes in life, but that doesn't mean that you can't be rehabilitated, you can't be helped, you can't be put back on a path to being a good citizen. So this program is going to allow us to do all that, and we're really excited about it.
Dr. Clawson, tell us about, Don did a great job of really making sure people understand that this is something that is across the board. No one's immune,
Absolutely.
Right? Talk to us about the challenges when he says, you know, people in school or people, whatever the case may be, what types of challenges are they dealing with?
So people are dealing with so many challenges across the board. It really depends on that person's situation and their mental health diagnoses. So we see people dealing with a lot of trauma in the forensic field. And a lot of people end up incarcerated because of traumatic events that they've been through in their lives. And so a lot of the work that we do is working with people who have serious histories of trauma throughout their lives. So you see that trauma start sometimes in childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and working in that space and treating their trauma really helps to decrease the offenses ultimately.
Okay. This collaboration came to be, but it was not an overnight thing by any stretch of the imagination. So Dr. Clawson, I'll start with you. Take us back to those initial discussions where you're saying, hey, this is needed, and how did Sarpy County, or vice versa, how did that collaboration start?
So this actually started before I was on board. This collaboration has been in place with Sarpy County. My chair of the psychiatry department, Dr. Howard Liu, worked with Sarpy County and has been working with them for years now, trying to build this program, build this fellowship. So he came together with people from Sarpy County and talked to them about this potential opportunity to grow a training program here in Nebraska. And I know that you might have been part of some of those discussions, but
Yes,
I was pulled in after that.
I would just say that if it wasn't for Dr. Liu, we probably wouldn't be talking about this today. He is such a dedicated and committed professional, and he really wanted to see this program kick off, and really it was sort of his brainchild, because he saw what we were trying to do in Sarpy County is develop a crisis response center for people, you know, under mental duress. Mm-hmm. And that was a little bit of a bridge too far for us because of all the variables that went with it. So he proposed, hey, how about a program where we just focus on what's going on inside your jail, albeit smaller than what your grand vision is. He thought it would be a lot of benefit to it. So he really marshaled the support of then Chancellor Gold and of course the Sarpy County Board, and that's why we're here today.
Well, and people who are watching at home who are dealing themselves with some sort of mental health challenge, or they know somebody who's going through that, I can just hear it now. People going, oh my gosh, somebody is taking steps, right, to make sure that we are aware that this is happening, and even more so doing something about that, right?
Well, you know, I would say, even though I would consider this program remarkable, it's still baby steps, because this is happening inside. I mean, mental health shouldn't be criminalized. You know, people need mental health counseling, they need mental health assistance outside of the correctional facility. But this lets us take the first bite at the apple and help those people that are really in crisis right now, that are incarcerated, as Dr. Clawson pointed out, because of some mental issues that they've had. And it's going to help them get back on track to get the help they need and become productive citizens. So it's a great start.
Well, thank you very much for that. All right, so Dr. Clawson, for viewers who are watching and thinking, I've heard of fellowship programs. I want to start there kind of high level. What is a fellowship program? And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this specific one.
Yes. So the way that medical training is set up, you go to medical school and then you go to residency, and then if you want to pursue training further in a subspecialty within your specialty, you go to fellowship. So fellowship in psychiatry is completely optional. You do not have to do a fellowship, so the people who decide to do these fellowships are really, really interested in forensic psychiatry and working in this specific space.
Okay, so I have to ask, why or how did you become involved in this field?
So I went to medical school knowing that I wanted to be a psychiatrist. This has always been my area of interest. And as I was going through my training, I realized that a lot of our sickest people end up within the legal system. And so I really saw an opportunity there to help a lot of people and to work with people who don't have a lot of resources and don't get a lot of assistance kind of outside of the system. So I was really drawn to work in the forensic space because you get to see so many different kinds of cases, and you get to work with the most interesting people, and you get to work with some really, really wonderful people who are just at kind of one of the lowest points in their lives. You get to kind of help them through that, and I think that's really amazing.
Okay, the application process. Let me back up a little bit. Your target start date is when?
It is next July.
Okay, so, and here we are entering the fall. So walk us through the application process. Who qualifies once you get those applications in? How will things be determined and so forth?
So anybody who has completed or is set to complete by July of 2026 a psychiatry residency program qualifies to apply to the fellowship. So people who have completed their psychiatry residency training and are looking to expand their knowledge and further subspecialize in forensic psychiatry. And we are currently accepting applications for our first year of fellowship. So people who are interested in applying can do so now. We'll be doing our interviews here soon and then having our first fellow hopefully start in July.
So what kind of work behind the scenes? I mean, now we're talking from an applicant's perspective, but for someone like you, who I would imagine has a million plus things going on every day, what does your life and that of your colleagues like Dr. Liu, what does that look like between now and the time that you would actually launch this?
Yes, so up until this point, I've worked on setting up this fellowship for about the last 2 years. So, and I've done so with tremendous support from Sarpy County and the people there in the jail and in the courts. And so a lot of the work in setting up the fellowship has been done, and now we are going to be interviewing and working on making sure that all of our rotations are set to go, that our educators are prepared to have a fellow, and that all of the spaces are ready for the fellow to come and hit the ground running when they get here.
Okay. Immediate goals. I mean, I would imagine everybody has a vision for what they hope this will bring, not just to Sarpy County, UNMC, but the state overall. And we'll get there. But I want to start with some of those more immediate things that as they're happening, you're going, yes, this is exactly what we envisioned this fellowship to be.
Yes. So one of my immediate goals is just getting forensic psychiatrists to train here and to stay here, because we don't have very many forensic psychiatrists here in Nebraska, and there are a lot of people who are awaiting specialty evaluations that could really be helped if we increase the number of forensic psychiatrists here in the state. There are also a lot of people that need forensic type treatment, and it's very hard to access that treatment right now in the state. That is a national problem. But we don't have very many people here doing that work. So one of my big goals is really to recruit more people to come to this state and stay in the state and work in forensic psychiatry here so that our population has access to this specialized type of care.
When someone responds in the way that you just did, I think we probably have viewers going, well, she touched on Nebraska and how this is a problem around the country. Where do we sit with this? I mean, kind of bring some perspective in terms of the country and how Nebraska fits into all of that.
Right. So part of having a forensic psychiatry fellowship training program is to expand the number of forensic psychiatrists here. So in states that have training programs already or who have multiple training programs, they have a lot more forensic psychiatrists who are practicing there. And so if we are able to have this fellowship here, build this fellowship, potentially expand the fellowship, we will be able to expand the number of people who are practicing here in the state.
Okay, so for people who are outside of Sarpy County, when you say eventually we'd like to be able to reach, I mean, where does that start, Dr. Clawson? I mean, this has become such a big concern for folks. And, you know, I don't know about you, but when I'm out talking with people in the community, they're like, let's just acknowledge that it exists and do something about it, right?
Absolutely.
So when you talk about that bigger picture, those broader strokes, and what you're saying could happen, eventually happening, how does that impact, especially some of the folks in rural Nebraska, right? So what does that mean for them?
Yes. What I hope it means is better access to care, and better access to evaluations that will move them through the legal system faster, so that we don't have people sitting in jail waiting for forensic evaluations. So we don't have people sitting waiting to go for forensic treatment. We have more providers who are actually doing that work, who can move them out of those facilities and into a treatment facility. And Sarpy County is going to be home base for our fellows, but they'll be training all around the state. We'll have some support from the Behavioral Health Education Center of Nebraska, or Beacon, to make sure that our fellows have access to learning about care in rural facilities. And we'll also have the fellows rotating at the Lincoln Regional Center, where they'll have access to be able to learn how to treat patients who are in care in the state hospitals.
Okay, I want to take some of the time, a good chunk of the time that we have remaining, and really go back to Sarpy County, right? And talk about, so you've collaborated. We know that this is going to happen next year, and this fellowship program is going to be underway. So I'd like for the two of you, if you would please, to paint a picture of what this looks like. So we get to the point where we have the individual selected. The individual goes over and starts to partner with the correctional center, right? And even in Lincoln too. But what does that look like? So are they working directly with one person? Are they working with a number of people? How is that going to kind of unfold, for lack of a better phrase?
Yeah.
Do you want to take the first shot?
Yeah, I can tell you about that. So the fellow is primarily going to be working with me. So they are going to be rotating with me at Sarpy County. They're going to be learning how to provide treatment in a jail setting. They're going to work with the treatment courts in Sarpy County, primarily the Sarpy County Wellness Court, to help people who are in the system because of their mental illness get treatment and move out of the system. They will also be working with me at the Lincoln Regional Center, learning how to do competency to stand trial evaluations and competency restoration treatment. And they'll also have a chance to work with other forensic providers in the state to work with them on civil evaluations, so that they learn how to do work not just on the criminal side of forensic psychiatry, but also get really great experience doing civil forensic evaluations. So the goal is, when they graduate, for them to be very well-rounded and able to work in any area of forensic psychiatry that they want to.
So I want to ask this question, and Don, I could start with you because you are affiliated with the Correctional Center. So what Dr. Clawson is saying seems to make sense, right? But I'm also thinking of the psychological piece too. So let's say I'm somebody applying for this fellowship because I'm ambitious and I want to help change the world and I want to do all the things that you've talked about. How prepared are these individuals who are going to be serving as fellows to really come into an environment like the one you toured us through, a few moments ago? What type of prep work, for lack of a better term, needs to happen in order to adequately prepare folks for the environment that they're going to be coming into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask that because I've never been to medical school. However, I know that medical school is rigorous, both academically and in a lot of other ways, and I think that helps prepare people for the challenges they're going to face when they get into their residencies and become fellows for later on. So I think that it's sort of a building block process, but from a county perspective, what I want to see is that we give them the facility and the tools and the curriculum and the staffing assistance, whatever they need to make this program successful. And then from a broader government standpoint, this is groundbreaking in the state of Nebraska. And I'm not here to pat ourselves on the back, but say, hey, we're building a program that you can emulate. We'll give you benchmarks that you can build your own program from, because there's 93 counties in the state.
Right.
And mental health doesn't just exist in Sarpy County, it exists everywhere. So mental illness, I should say. So we're hoping that people will, come in and copy us. That'd be the greatest form of flattery,
So is Sarpy County set up, because to your point, and thank you for bringing that up again, this is the first in the state. Are you set up, the commissioners and so forth, to have people knocking on your doors, the 93 counties, to be able to say, hey, we find it very interesting what you're doing there, and we would love help in getting that started here. Are you talking about that in terms of who's going to handle what there?
Yeah, I would say the biggest limb fact, and Dr. Clawson has pointed out already, is the number of psychiatrists that are available to dive into this. There's been kind of a chronic shortage of people that have been willing to go into that field over the past decade. So it's a numbers challenge, but we didn't just set this up by happenstance. We, as the board members, went and visited some of the best mental health sites in the country. We went to San Antonio, we went to Tucson, Arizona. We looked and we got ideas. We talked to the people, they gave us briefings, and we brought their best ideas back here. And when we designed our new correctional facility, we tried to incorporate some of those recommendations into it so that we would have adequate space for a program like this to be successful.
Don, when you were doing all of that homework or research and traveling and trying to figure out what might be best suited for Sarpy County, and you say that you brought some of that back, share with us some of the aha moments that you had when you were doing some of these tours through some of the other places throughout the country to be able to maybe strengthen what already seems like a pretty good start to this program.
Well, I would say one of the aha moments for me was the amount of people that it takes to pull something like this off. And I mean, Sarpy County is a smaller county in comparison to some of the places we visited, but it takes an enormous amount of resources and personnel to make these kind of programs successful. So to me, that's why I said we're taking a bite of the apple here, but the need is so much greater than what we're going to be able to deliver. But it's a good first step, and we're happy to be part of it.
What do you see in terms of, I asked about short-term goals to Dr. Clawson, but just in terms of Sarpy County, it does in essence put them on the map, not just in Nebraska, but nationwide, because it is the first type of program like this in the state, right?
Right.
So talk a little bit about the benefits to Sarpy County.
Well, I mean, we're just fortunate to have the University of Nebraska Medical Center right here in our community. And so what I would really like to see is that they have to turn away psychiatrists, because the supply exceeds, or the demand exceeds their ability to supply a good quality education. We're not there yet. So that's kind of a long-term process to get more people to go into this field. It's a tough field. I mean, it's a tough field. Some of the things you pointed out, dealing with people with mental illness, it's not for the weak. You've got to be super smart, and you've got to be ready to deal with circumstances that most normal doctors would never encounter.
Yeah. Dr. Clawson, I want to ask you, you're very innovative and you have a phenomenal department and a great head in Dr. Lou, right? Given what's about to happen here, what is happening but is going to formally happen, how do you see your field going forward?
I think that forensic psychiatry is growing. It is a fantastic field to practice in. You get the opportunity to be so creative and to work with so many interesting and wonderful people. And you get to work in spaces where most doctors don't work, and I find that really rewarding.
So let's just, in the couple minutes that we do have remaining, and speaking to Dawn's point, I mean, we do need more people like this. So if anybody's watching who has a remote interest in what we're talking about today, and you're sitting across the table from them, what types of things would be good for them to have? I mean, not just subjects they like, but just part of who they are, their character, things like that. What would you see as some of the highlights in what you would want an individual to bring to that table?
So some of the things that I would recommend to people or would tell people is that this is such a wonderful field if you have an interest in getting to know people and an interest in understanding why people are the way that they are. And if you are somebody who really enjoys kind of figuring out a puzzle or figuring out why something has happened or figuring out how to help somebody, this is an amazing field to work in. It is a field where you really never know what's going to happen that day. And I find that very fun and very exciting. And you never know what kind of case is going to come across your desk or what kind of person that you're going to end up talking with that day. And I think that that is incredibly rewarding.
Forensic Psychiatry Fellowship, the first of its kind in the state of Nebraska, talking with Dr. Clawson and Commissioner Dawn Kelly today. Folks wanting more information can go ahead and check out both of these websites, please. UNMC.edu/psychiatry, 402-552-6007, or you can go to sarpy.gov, 402-593-4155. I want to thank you both for being here, and really more importantly for what you're doing for our respective communities. The collaborative piece is wonderful. Keep that going. Best wishes to you moving forward in this endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for being here.
Our pleasure to be here.
You bet. Thanks to our students who are working so hard behind the scenes. And of course, to all of you for watching. We will see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television in the School of Communication. More information and program archives can be found at nebraskapublicmedia.org/considerthis. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call the UNO School of Communication at 402-554-2600 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.